All right, so now let's move to item 17. So this is performance reports, Q1 performance reports for Vbase and ChristchurchNZ. Now, we've got the ChristchurchNZ team here for ChristchurchNZ. Do we have somebody here for Vbase?
No.
All right, so Tim, you're conflicted on this one, so you'll sit back from the table, that's fine. Let's just run through Vbase and then I'll switch the chair to Sam for ChristchurchNZ. So, Len, thank you very much for joining us. Anything you want to highlight from this Vbase report?
No, in fact, as with everybody, they've had difficulties in the last quarter for trading, and that's flowed on to this current year. So I'd hope these reports are taken as a snapshot in time,
Indeed.
as at 30 June, and will be ongoing for, subsequently, so as at 30 September. So unless there's any questions,
Yep.
go through them.
Are there any questions just on Vbase for the moment? No questions? All right, Len, thank you very much indeed. And then, Yanni, did you have something?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think,
Len, sorry, we've got a question from Yanni.
sorry, I think we've raised this before, but can we get some sense of how the community is accessing the facilities, particularly like the town hall?
Well, what happened with the town hall was the introduction to the volunteers, and so that actually has made the town hall more accessible. The arena and the other venues are more corporatised and therefore not so much available to everybody, but the town hall is the one that people want to go to, and so the introduction of those volunteers has helped actually reintroduce people to the town hall. It is the most used venue that we have, or that Vbase has, and once again it's such a good asset for the community.
Right, but I think we were quite interested in just understanding how many community groups were using it, and what the barriers were. Like, in the past, for example, the high cost of catering has meant that it's cost prohibitive for groups to use the town hall.
Yeah, I mean, the Vbase reintroduced catering into its suite of products it offered in April, just prior to COVID. So the spotless contract ended, and they are basically looking at ensuring that those costs are driven at a proper rate. So for catering, it's a new paradigm for what they're operating under. The venue itself has set fees, which are negotiated between community groups at the time of booking. So therefore, it becomes that discussion between Vbase and the community groups themselves.
Yeah, okay. Can we just get a list of, under the venues available for local, cultural, not-for-profit and charitable, can we just get a list of who's actually used the facilities? That would be quite helpful, I think.
We can direct a question directly to Caroline and the rest of the team at Vbase.
That would be great. Across all the Vbase venues.
Yep, great. All right, thank you very much. So nothing else on Vbase. We'll obviously pick that up in the resolution. I'll now vacate the chair so that Sam can chair the ChristchurchNZ component of this report.
Hello, welcome along.
Hello.
Great, so do you want to run us through your presentation? And
I'm
then
handing over to Joanna. She's going to lead.
Perfect.
Kia ora koutou. It's lovely to be here to present on Q1 of our performance for this financial year. Thank you. Right, so just getting straight into our performance indicators. We are currently on track for 32 out of our 33 levels of service. The one where we are falling behind and seeking to remedy is engagements on our website, and that's due to some technical changes at the back end of our website, which has impacted search engine optimisation, and we'll have that remedied as we work through the fiscal. We're also operating within budget, and that's within the context of a reduced funding envelope from the Christchurch City Council, but that's offset by an increase in over budget of government funding as a consequence of COVID. So we've attracted government funding over and above that we had expected at the time we were budgeting. You can see our financial, okay, that makes more sense. You can see there our operating expenditure is broadly in line with where we had expected. The differential is based on just a variance of activity, and we're expecting to work to budget for the fiscal. So we've placed a very heavy focus on making sure that we continue to focus on shifting the perception of Christchurch with the key audiences that we're seeking to reach. We work with a research partner, Research First, monitoring the way that Christchurch is perceived in Auckland and Wellington, and also here within Christchurch. And we're really happy to report that there has been a significant shift in the way Christchurch is perceived with our key audiences in those markets. And you can see the headline stat up there that overall the willingness to consider relocating to Christchurch over the next 5 years has shifted from 14% in May to 27% in the next survey period. Now, what this shows us is the messages that we're putting into those markets are starting to land, and we've worked very closely with key media as well as with paid media to start to get through the message of the attractiveness of Christchurch, but also the affordability of Christchurch. And we've had really strong pickup of that messaging within national media, including with some significant commentators, including Bernard Hickey. So we're really, really pleased with that result, and we're expecting that to continue to shift as those messages get cut through. In terms of, and the other thing is we've seen a shift in the way that residents perceive Christchurch, and notably as with more residents advocating for Christchurch as a place to visit and also a place to live. So we're really pleased with that result. Moving now through to the Ōtautahi Socioeconomic Recovery Plan. As you know, we've been working in partnership with Council to formulate the plan. Council has signed off the measurement framework for that and also the focus areas for that, and we're engaged heavily with a governance group driving activity within the Ōtautahi Socioeconomic Recovery Plan, including with Mana Whenua. Moving forward. So in terms of the way the economy is performing over the reporting period, you can see there that significant dip in activity during the lockdown period and then the very strong recovery after that. The tool that you can see there is a tool that we developed alongside Treasury, which helped us monitor the economy in a much more timely way than we had been able to prior to COVID. Now this is really important because we're continuing to see variations in activity across the economy, and it's important we're able to respond to that quickly. You can see there that economic activity in Canterbury and Christchurch is up in comparison to this time last year, and that's really interesting to us, and it's important that we maintain that strength. That's driven by the strength of our primary sector, strong recovery in our manufacturing sector, a strong balance of trade, and retail spending is also up, and that's largely our residents spending money in our local retail environment. Now, in terms of that tactical activity that sits within the recovery plan, we're working with a large number of businesses to make sure that they are able to survive through this period, and we do this in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. During the reporting period, we've supported 2,400 businesses, and that is one-on-one support for those businesses to make sure they have the right support to survive through this period. Now, what that is showing us is that 33% of the businesses that we worked with say they are healthy or growing, 41% say they are surviving, and the balance have needed support to survive during this period or support to go into a mothballing status to enable them to be reactivated once this challenging period is over. Also during the period, we launched the Citywide Innovation and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem, and this came directly from the piece of work that was commissioned by Council to examine the effectiveness of innovation within Christchurch. As a consequence, we've launched a network of incubators to support the start-up and scale-up of businesses within Christchurch. This partnership will guarantee support for 55 businesses during every year for the next 3 years. And we're also preparing to launch an incubator program with MSD, which is designed to support people from unemployment and into self-employment, so to help people affected by COVID to move into starting their own businesses. And we're really pleased with that program. In terms of our support for Māori youth and skills transition, we've supported the GCP in the formation of the Canterbury Regional Skills Leadership Group, and we are just putting the finishing touches on a piece of work which is a workforce and skills plan which we're doing in conjunction with Ngāi Tahu, and that will be delivered to the Regional Skills Leadership Group in this quarter. And we've also mapped all of the support that's available to support skills transition right across Christchurch to make sure that there's no gaps and to help us plug gaps where they exist and make sure that we're not just putting in place programs that may have worked historically but won't work in the new context. In terms of our work with our mega clusters, clusters is a difficult word to use in this environment, but we all know what these are. This is the bringing together of large sector groups in the areas where we have strength. We've appointed a health tech specialist. We've run the Health Tech Challenge in the reporting quarter, which brought together really innovative businesses who had amazing health solutions and helping them commercialise those into businesses. And we're just about to launch the Food, Fibre and Agri-Tech Challenge, which is another of our large industry clusters. And whipping through, thanks to Rez. We're working as a partner of government to implement 2 significant government funding initiatives designed to support the events industry. The first is the Regional Events Fund, and we've been able to attract 4.1 million to to Christchurch to enable us to invest in events to ensure that we've got vibrancy in the post-COVID period, and also the Domestic Events Fund, where we supported government to evaluate a number of events which needed some additional funding during the COVID period, and that saw 5 events funded by government, which was really significant in terms of the sustainability of those events. We're also partnering with government and have attracted $1 million in government funding to support the strategic tourism assets. We're using that to support marketing of the region, and you're seeing some of the success of that. We've partnered with all of the districts in Canterbury for that marketing campaign. We're also directly supporting businesses to pivot from international offerings to a domestic offering to ensure that they can survive during this period. Thank you. Now, some of the big signature events that we have worked on during the quarter, you're really familiar with many of these because Council has also had a role. So FIFA Women's World Cup, we successfully bid alongside other cities in New Zealand for this event. I do want to signal that we're still working through with FIFA all of the venue requirements for this, and they will be making decisions around the host locations later this year. Did I say later this year? Later this financial year, early next calendar year. Cricket Women's World Cup, again, really exciting announcement for the city. There's a significant government investment in this, as well as a local investment through ChristchurchNZ on behalf of the city, and that was a successful bid, and we're really pleased to be hosting that event. Now, in terms of the way that we've been positioning Christchurch, the Explore CHC campaign, which was the partnership between the airport and all of the districts led by ChristchurchNZ, was hugely successful. We gained 18 million impressions, and 21% of those have signalled they intend to travel to Canterbury, and we've had $1 million of booked travel already through our conversion partner, which was House of Travel. So what this shows you is the marketing work that we are doing is actually getting cut through, and we take a great deal of care to make sure we do have a conversion partner, so we're converting the brand awareness to actual tactical people on the ground here in Christchurch. We also did a campaign with the Crusaders, which was the first of this type that the city had ever done with the Crusaders, which feels like a complete no-brainer because they are amazing and we are amazing, and they're based here. That was one of our most successful pieces of social activation. You can see 420,000 people engaged with that, including 2.6 million impressions on social media. So we're really pleased, and we're going to do some more work with them over the next few years. We might just skip over this one because it's heaps of detail. So finally, during the quarter, we were preparing to transfer the urban development functions to ChristchurchNZ and to make sure these very important work programs continue. So we're really happy to report that transition has gone really smoothly. We're really pleased with how the teams are working. Haipuna Taimoana, we're continuing to work through the defect liability period in relation to the facility, and you all know the success of that facility, and we're really pleased with how that's going, and it's also attracted 3 awards in the reporting period. We're working, next week we will be with the Community Board on the Roy Stokes Hall, following a community consultation and design-led process for uses of that site. And we're working with developers in relation to the Seaview, and we'll be reporting back through the Community Board on that over the next couple of weeks. In relation to 2 other parcels of land, Peterborough and Milton Street, we are continuing to work with a number of parties in relation of those 2 sites, and we'll be reporting back to this committee and to Council in due course on those 2 sites. That's it. And that's us. Thank you. Happy to go back on any detail.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joanna. And I have to say, I'm usually the harshest critic of some of the stuff you do, but I found that probably the best update we've had so far.
Thanks,
so
Sam.
really, really good work. Does anyone have any questions for? So Tim, and then Aaron. And then
just with regards to the Milton Street, it'd be really good just to stay in touch with the local community boards, and it actually crosses 2. It used to be us, but we the corner of Milton Street now, so Milton Colombo, that's where it stops, and I'm on this, or we're on the south side, Melanie and I, so it'd be really good if that could just keep in touch, because it does affect our community.
Yeah, that's a really good signal. Thank you. We'll make the time for both
Thank
those community boards.
Cheers.
Aaron?
Yeah, so my one's just around the slide, the citywide innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, and just the last one, work underway on employment to self-employment program with MSD.
Yep.
So what is the thinking behind that, given the percentage, and I believe in the philosophy of failure your way to success, but well, no, it's a true thing, and lots of entrepreneurs do it. That's how they get there, if you read any of their stories. But for people who are not entrepreneurs and have not run a business, to then, in a time of uncertainty and in some fields an economic slowdown and others an up ramp, to be getting them to go into their own business when over half fail within 4 years.
So the really interesting thing about some of the cohorts who are moving out of the workforce is there are two cohorts. There are highly skilled people such as pilots who have found that their industry has been impacted, and some of those people are seeing this as an opportunity for a life change. Now, and then there's another group of people who were working within the retail and tourism sector, which are lower wage sectors, and they need a different set of support. So we saw an opportunity alongside MSD and our partners at Te Haka and Think Lab to actually start to incubate some of those people who are looking for that life change and help them grow some of their business ideas through incubation.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it lands, because with pilots, they're generally non-risk takers. That's why you put them at the front. And so, it'll be very interesting to see whether you can turn on a part of their brain that doesn't.
Yeah. So as part of
in.
those, we're conscious of that. As part of those contracts with the incubators, we've got a contracted success rate.
Right.
Yeah. So we require them to succeed a certain proportion of the cohorts going through.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see updates
it
on
will
that.
be.
So if we can kind of get that highlighted on the way through
Yeah,
of some success and not, whichever way.
Jake?
Just on the Explore Christchurch campaign, do you have an idea of how much this campaign or campaigns like it add to the local economy? You mentioned $1 million of booked travel, and I know it's probably hard to quantify, and I know it'll also be feeding that increased interest in living and visiting here. But yeah, do you
I don't have
an
the
idea?
numbers at the top of my head, but we do quantify per visitor impact, which from the top of my head is around $320 per day per visitor. So once you start to see how many visitors are coming through, which we do measure once they land here, we can evaluate that. Yeah.
Great. James?
Kia ora. Thanks for the report. First question is, in one of your slides it says that you've got a mana whenua representative in the leadership group, I think it says.
Correct, yeah.
Is that as an employee, is that what you say?
No, so that's a Ngāi Tuahariri representative on the leadership group that supports the development of the recovery plan.
Right. I think it's important to just, and other people will see this, to note that with respect to our huriri is not the only mana whenua entity that you're looking after this area, you know?
Correct. So we're engaging with the other Papati Pūruranga through Te Honanga, and we're working with Liz Brown to engage with the other Papati Pūruranga early in the new year.
Yep, okay, thanks. And then I go to slide 16 of 17. The Seaview development, can you give us a little more information on that? Like, how advanced is that, the substantial medium density residential development?
We're not in a position to give an update today because we're at a commercially sensitive stage, but we'd be happy to once we're able to do that in a public forum.
Okay, right, thanks.
Great. Jimmy and then Yanni, then Leanne.
First one regarding to the party Christchurch social economic recovery plan, particularly regarding the tourists and the events. I just want to know ChristchurchNZ engage with the key stakeholders, whether it's covered outside of the CBD. For example, like Royal Air Force Museum, but that particular still consider visit London. overseas, etc., or the how many events, be the forecast estimate. So I just want to know whether we have engaged with them.
We do use the Wigram as part of the For Middle series that we run. So when we bring trade agents to Christchurch, we will take them to that facility. And our events team also work with them when we're looking to bring events to Christchurch, as do obviously the Vbase team. So the Van Gogh exhibition, for example, has been placed at the Wigram Air Museum because we are conscious of their pipeline. Yeah.
Okay. Second is regarding urban development function transfer from the original DCL to the ChristchurchNZ, particularly for those 4 pieces of land. Whether it's a little bit more detailed kind of update status regarding this development.
So the functions have now fully transferred and are operating within ChristchurchNZ. As I said, the transfer has been really smooth from a technical point of view. Not any IT troubles, which has surprised even us. As I say, we're continuing the services uninterrupted, and those key work programs are up there.
Thank you.
Great, Yanni and then Leanne, and then we'll have to wrap it up because we've got people waiting.
Thank you. Just three questions. One is, can we get some sense, and I don't know how we do it, around what's happening to Milton Street? Because that's kind of different to what we were told the other day. So can we just have a conversation within CTHL and ChristchurchNZ about that?
Maybe, Joanna, do you want us to take that offline with Dawn?
Yeah. It shouldn't be different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing is, I see you're doing a lot of work with the South Brighton, the Roy Stokes Hall, the former school site. How do we get you to do something similar in Phillipstown? Like, what's the process? Because, that's a community that's been asking for help and support, and I'm just trying to understand, how we give you direction to do that.
Yeah, so the functions that have transferred for this fiscal are restricted to a very narrow set of functions. I think the appropriate place for that conversation would be through the long-term plan process.
Well, yeah, okay.
Cool.
So
And the third one?
Yeah, and the final one was just in our statement, in our letter of expectation, we asked if you could look at best practice to improve inequity or equity in lower sectional areas of the city. Can you just explain what you've been doing in that space and what work you've been doing in the areas that are in the communities in terms of well-being for communities outside of the central city and in areas that do have those higher levels of social deprivation?
Yeah, so for this quarter, which is quarter 1, we've been responding to that request by making sure that we've got the right, we're embarking on the right initiatives. So we've got 2 that we'll be talking about in quarter 2, which is the Pupil Pathways program in Haiata, Linwood, and I think, I'll have to come back to you, Yanni, but I think also Hornby. And also a partnership with Ngāi Tuahariri in relation to Māori skills. So they're the 2 specific programs, and then obviously the MSD from unemployment into self-employment has an impact right across the community. It will be delivered through the 4 contact centres, MSD contact centres, which are in Linwood, Hornby, Papanui, and I apologise, there's a 4th area and I can't remember where it is. But
Just, have you looked at the Southern Initiative and thought about how that could be?
Yeah, we have. That's a heavily
at,
resourced initiative. So just to give you some comparisons, AT received 67 million in funding from the Auckland Council. Obviously, we only receive a very small portion in relation to that. So we don't have the resources to deliver a program such as the Southern Initiative, but we are really interested in that type of program.
Yanni, I'm just conscious of time. I think you've definitely made your point, but can we just go to Leanne and then we need to wrap it up because we've got people waiting.
Yeah, mine's very brief. It's just, and it's just to say congratulations. The diplomatic study tour, which is on at the moment, which has ambassadors and high commissioners from Wellington here at the moment. Just the feedback on the engagement with ChristchurchNZ was outstanding, and I just wanted to acknowledge it publicly. And the second one was that I went to one of the ChristchurchNZ events last year, and I can't remember what it was called, but where menus and beers and wines were all matched up around different restaurants. And people raised with me concerns about the fact that our own Vbase wasn't serving local, and it's because of the change of contract. It's completely different. It's a great story, and I know that you guys work really hard with them behind the scenes. The chief executive there has been outstanding, and it was just such a simple transition to now. I can't remember what the numbers are, but it's something like 80% local, 90% New Zealand. It's just such a big turnaround, and it means that when people come to events here, they get to showcase the very best of what our region has to offer. So thank you for the part that you played.
Oh, look, we appreciate that. We've got some of the best food and wine in the world. Why would we not showcase it?
Well, on that note, Leanne, do you want to move the receipt of the report?
Yes, I will. We're
Would
happy
someone
to.
Jimmy will second it. Any debate? No? All in favour? Against? Great, thank you for coming in. Andrew, do you want to come back and do the